Hello and welcome again to this edition of Meet the Candidates 2020 on WCMU Public Television. I'm David Nicholas this year speaking with our guests remotely, and in this case joined by Representative Phil Green. He is the Republican incumbent to Michigan's 84th House District, and he is seeking a second term to that office. Congratulations on advancing to the general election. And in the first couple of moments with you, sir, a little bit about you, your background and experience you bring to the campaign.
All right. Thank you for allowing me to be on with you. This is an exciting time of year, and we are at the point now where the election is right around the corner. And I grew up in the small town of Mayville, southern part of Tuscola County, and spent 4 years in college in Florida, then 4 years as a youth pastor out in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and 10 years as a senior pastor out in western New York over near Buffalo and Rochester. And then in 2012, I moved back home to be assistant pastor at my home church I grew up in, and I was also the school administrator. So I have about 20 years of full-time church ministry where I was actively involved in people's lives, active in counseling and helping them through different aspects of life, as well as substance abuse and marital counseling. And then for 6 years, I was chaplain with the sheriff's office, where I was able to, my job, how I said it, was to keep the good guys good. And so I was able to work with the sheriff's deputies and the administration and working through their different issues and topics that they get to deal with. 2011, I won the National Sheriff's Association Chaplain of the Year. And so that was a pretty high honor for me to be recognized as one who's made a difference in people's lives. And so my goal was to take that same philosophy, take that same passion of making a difference in people's lives, and to use that in the realm of government and helping them navigate the government affairs.
And during the campaign, not only leading up to August, but in the days and weeks since, as we get closer to November, you as candidate and the voters that you've spoken with, the prospective voters in the District 84, what would you identify as the top three issues in this campaign?
Well, obviously, they are looking at constitutional issues, and they are looking to safely reopen their economy. And then likewise, we have the return to learn and the educational components. So a little bit different than in 2018, but this one is a little bit more focused on the events of 2020.
When you talk about the safe reopening of the economy and also the plans that were underway in the legislative term in which you served and have continued now into the start of the school year, let's talk specifically first about the economy, the impact that you have seen in District 84, and what are the voters and what do you see then as the ways that we can move forward in reopening what likely will be a changed economy from the one that we have seen heretofore?
Well, one of the major issues that I'm seeing in our economy is the lack of people that are wanting to enter the workforce. So we had a little bit of a struggle before COVID hit, and that people were struggling to hire enough employees. But currently, it seems like it has just been exacerbated, that people cannot find employees that want to work. And so as we move forward, we need to understand that I believe the economy is doing well, but we have several issues that are holding it back, and one of them is workforce development, and then as well as a passion for people to get back into the workforce rather than staying home or whatever their case is.
Looking then a little bit more closely then at that workforce issue, you said it was made worse, exacerbated, I believe was your exact term, given the time of COVID-19. How do you look to change that overall workforce development or availability of the workforce and the skills that they need to fill these particular jobs, or redirect the emphasis of getting folks into the workforce as opposed to staying out, as we have seen?
Obviously, we have several different programs that have been developed over the past 2 years. One of them is the Reconnect program. and then the where we are helping individuals get the skills that they need through community colleges to enter that workforce in a productive manner. I think the other part of it is making sure that people are safe, and that when they return to work, that they are comfortable in how they have been set up to remain safe and not be infected or spread an infection, whether it be COVID or the flu, and how that works there. So we are making available on the government side, we're making the PPP or the PPE available, the personal protection equipment available, as well as we are trying to make it as easy for employers to hire and to keep their employees safe.
And is the funding adequate? Are the preparations adequate statewide? And when we say statewide, meaning to get down to the individual districts, are you seeing that as a fair enough distribution and sharing of those resources so that your district will be able to potentially, as you are hoping to do if elected to a second term, continue those efforts, emphasizing a safe return for those who want to work?
We were very fortunate in Tuscola and Huron County in that many of our businesses were able to take part in the small business loan or small business grant program to restart. And it seems that I think with government, anytime you ask, is the funding okay? The answer is always no, because they always want more funding. However, I think the businesses in the 84th district are conservative, and they make their every dollar count and every dollar stretch. And so I think as they get their feet back underneath them, that they will have sufficient funding.
You also mentioned the Return to Learn program that was being put in place through much of this current term once we experienced the worst of the shutdown in March and the truncated school year and in many ways a truncated restart that we've seen in the fall. The status of that for the schools in your district at this point, and how you see those efforts, what you would propose to continue those efforts to keep the kids in school, safe in school, and with the resources they need.
Many of our schools are very creative, and they again, the 84th district is a working class district where agriculture, if you tell somebody that we can't do something, then they're going to figure out a way to get it done. And so even in the education realm, the dedication of our administrators, the dedication of our teachers to make this work, they have gone above and beyond the call to get our students back in to school and to adequately educate them. So I think across the board, we have been creative in meeting those requirements, as well as keeping those students safe and keeping the teachers safe as well. Each individual school district has some of their own individual struggles, but we are each learning to navigate, and which is key. Whether we had this discussion in August or had the discussion in January, there was going to be a hesitation and a struggle at some point in that return. And so I commend all of our employees, all of our teachers, all of our administrators, and the work that they've done to be dedicated to the students and to get them back into school.
For those that were then forced to go online for their schooling back in the spring, and for those that have either opted to or in districts that are offering blended learning and so forth, one of the issues we've seen talking with many candidates has been the access to the broadband to make that adequately prepared in terms of the resources for both the students and the teachers. What do you propose as a candidate for this office to keep those efforts stable, strengthened, and continuing as the need for that broadband access continues?
In 2018, I campaigned and ran on a phrase, fighting for the forgotten peninsula. The Thumb being a peninsula, and many times, specifically infrastructure-wise, there's only one way into the Thumb from the south, and really one way out of the Thumb from the south. And so businesses and infrastructure was not always built up to its best capacity there because of the scarce population as well. And so One of the things I sunk my teeth into early on was our broadband grant program. And we were able to do a pilot program in this previous budget. And now we have it into the budget as a normal program through DTMB for this current budget as well. We're passing legislation to make that a common every year part of statutory that grant is there to help our underserved areas in their technology needs. This has been one of the major reasons why many of our schools have returned to in-person learning, because the broadband was so poor that many students were getting completely left behind. And the teachers, the administrators, the employees, the parapros across the board said what is best for our kids at this point, even though it's not what we would like, is for our kids to return to school and to get the education they need, because the online just is not sufficient and is not providing the services that they need.
About a minute and a half left with you, and we want to leave that last 30 seconds for a final message from you to the voters. Is the concern over broadband and the impact on the schools, does that shape at all that issue as we sort of cross the bridge back to the economic and the trained skills of the workforce? How does that leave our current students and the students coming up in terms of having those skills as they would get set to go into a changed economy workforce?
Well, that has always been one of the major issues of the thumb, that our students were competing with students from Brighton and Bloomfield Hills and Rochester Hills and such like that. And so they never lacked in knowledge, but what they lacked were those skills in the technology realm. They'd go to college, and that may be the first time they've had a laptop sitting in front of them during a class. And so we have struggled in that area, and I am hoping and expecting that the COVID pandemic has shined a light on this aspect of our economy that we really need to change, and we really need to get it up into the 21st century.
As the voters get set to go to the polls, you, Representative Phil Green, what would be that final message you would want to leave with them as they prepare to vote?
Well, in 2018, I promised that I would fight for the Forgotten Peninsula, that I would fight for the thumb. And I can honestly look at every voter in the face and say, I have done that. I have fought my hardest. I have battled to keep the Carroll Center there in Carroll. I worked diligently to work on the broadband expansion, and we are constantly working to upgrade the infrastructure and upgrade the amenities that we have in the thumb. And I am looking forward to another 2 years of serving my community and helping them reach their full potential.
We appreciate your time in not only answering our questions, but obviously the chance to speak directly to the voters in District 84. We hope that you can stay safe, we should say, and good luck with the rest of the campaign. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you. Have a great day.
We've been speaking with Representative Phil Green. He is the Republican incumbent for the 84th House District, seeking a second term to that office. All qualifying party candidates for these offices were invited to participate in our series. I'm David Nicholas. Thank you for joining us, and remember to get out and use your right to vote on Tuesday, November 3rd.